Waluigi time!
Hey everyone, it is time for another Hot Guy video. And this is a Copic illustration. I'm just doing the sketch in Procreate on my iPad, and then I printed it off and continued traditionally. And then I actually finished it off digitally, so it's a bit of back and forth on this one. But yes, this is the third illustration in my Hot Guy series. I started off with the Grinch, and then I did Squidward, and now I'm doing Waluigi. There are so many great options. I have a huge list of ones I want to do. I feel like I could do this forever, although I might run out of ideas for interesting poses, and it might start to get old after a little while, but it's just so fun. And you know, I normally don't draw guys that often, and it gives me a chance to practice my male anatomy. I like picking characters that have a bit of a shock factor with them when you do this. Like, for example, Squidward, he was a squid for one, but he's a cartoon character, so seeing him in this buff bod is really shocking. And Waluigi, you know, he's not known for being good looking, I guess. So seeing a buff Waluigi instead of this tall string bean is a shock. So it's those unexpected ones that I like the best. And what's really funny is someone was mentioning in my live stream when I was working on this, they're like, you know, when you do these hot guy videos, their bodies are hot, but none of their faces are hot. And I'm like, oh my god, it's so true. And maybe I just do that subconsciously to help with the creepiness. I mean, part of it is I want to capture some of their likeness still, so it's kind of hard to keep the Waluigi features while making him actually good looking unless I drastically change it. But to me, it makes it that much better in the end because he's still creepy looking in the face, but he's just buff, so it's disturbing. You just feel disturbed when you look at it, and that's what I like about these drawings. Also, I just want to mention I'm not doing the face cam today because I'm looking all haggard and I'm kind of pressed for time. I am leaving at 4 a.m. to go to Anime North, which is a convention in Toronto, and I have a lot to do still. It's almost 10 p.m. I'm still editing this. I still have to pack a lot of stuff, and so I'm running out of time, so I just decided to skip the green screen and do the regular old sit at the computer and talk kind of thing. Although what I do prefer about this method is that I can see the video in front of me and give my commentary in real time very easily. So with the pose, you might have noticed at the beginning that I did draw him full body at first, but then I ended up zooming in on him just so he would fill the space better because I wanted this to fill the page and also be a print. And Waluigi's very tall, so if you include his full body, there's a bunch of space around him, and I didn't like that. And I was kind of bummed a little bit because that's one of his most distinguishing features is he's just so tall and skinny, has these really long legs, so I thought it'd be shocking having these long legs and these short shorts. But I had to trim them out. I like this a lot better. It fills the space a lot better. I even tried a pose where I flipped the canvas so it's in landscape, and I had him laying down, and he was a little bit in perspective with his feet closer to the camera than his face, and that way you can see the long legs. They're very accentuated, but again, I didn't like it, so I came back to this one, trimmed it, and carried on. If you're curious as to why there is a tennis racket and a tennis ball in the background, that is because Waluigi was first introduced in Mario Tennis. And I've never played any of the Mario Tennis games, but I've played other games featuring Waluigi, so I'm familiar with him, but I didn't know that Mario Tennis was his official debut until I looked into it. I was like, what was the first game he was in? Because I wanted some kind of background element that was relevant to him, and yeah, Mario Tennis is where he got his start. Although this is not the racket he had initially. He had a black and white one. This is more of a recent racket, but I liked the colors on this one, so I went with that. I wanted to keep the overalls somehow while still giving him little booty shorts, so as you can see there's still a strap going down to his shorts. The second strap we can just assume doesn't exist at all because it would unclip in the front and then hang over his back, so I thought, oh, one can be clipped, one can be unclipped, but it looked really weird with the strap dangling behind him. It just looked like his wiener was hanging out, and I was like, okay, this is a bit too weird. So I just ignored the second strap altogether. It's just a one strap outfit. Maybe in the back it clips on the other side, so it's kind of like a cross-body purse, you know, that kind of thing, except it's shorts. And of course I had to keep the gloves and hat, and it actually worked out perfectly because there's this reference image I found, and it's this pose because I need it for the anatomy reference, but the guy was holding his hat with his thumb and finger, and I was like, oh yeah, that's really good because Waluigi has a hat. But then I decided to change it to the mustache because he has such a creepy mustache. I'm like, why not have him pinching the mustache instead? And if you actually Google Waluigi, one of the first images to come up is a mustache pinching pose. It's different than this one, but I just thought it was kind of interesting. It just felt more Waluigi to have him pinching the mustache instead of the hat. And you know, to man it up a bit, I had to give him some extra facial hair and body hair. So not only does he have his pointy mustache, but he has some scruff on his chin, and I gave him some curly chest hairs and some arm hairs. And there's also a little bit of hair around his belly button. A couple other things I like about the shorts. One, they're being undone, which is like, ooh, adds to the sexiness of the pose, I guess. But I also made them so short that the pockets hang out, which I love. Just, I don't know. It just sort of helps emphasize how short the shorts are. It's like, ooh, look, my pockets are hanging out. Such fashion. I don't know. And, you know, Gene is very stiff, so there probably wouldn't be that much emphasis on the bulge, but with these kinds of videos, we gotta emphasize the bulge. It's like the male version of the anime titty. Now, underneath his shorts, you can see his underwear, and I could have gone without underwear, I suppose, but I just kind of like the idea of it peeking out and having some kind of text along the waistband. And I was live streaming and I was like, you guys, what should I write on the waistband? I only live streamed the very beginning of the coloring, but I still asked ahead of time. I was like, what should the waistband say? And someone suggested Fruit of the Shrooms because it's a play on Fruit of the Loom. And so it's Fruit of the Shroom or Shrooms, whichever one. Oh, so good. Then I had to go in and just do some finishing touches and touch up the line art because I did outline it in pencil, and so it does fade as you go over with the marker, so I like to go back over it just to darken some areas. And then I wanted to bring him into Photoshop to do the background because I wanted the WA text in the back and I did not want to do that by hand, so I figured, okay, I'll just do the entire background in Photoshop. So what I had to do was isolate the drawing from the background, which is easy enough on the outside, but not between all the little strings of the tennis racket. Also, at one point, I stopped erasing and accidentally started using a green brush instead of the eraser. Stupid me, so that I had to fix that too and clean up the edge again a little bit. Whoops. And then for the racket part, I just used the magic wand tool to select all the middle areas and then deleted them, but that's going to leave rough edges obviously, so I just did that to quickly get rid of the bulk of the white, and then I went in and cleaned up the edges with the eraser tool, which took a long time, but no regrets. I was sitting there like, man, I gotta be up at 3 a.m. Why am I sitting here erasing these little racket strings? But it was worth it. It was worth it. For this part, I'm just using Photoshop with my Cintiq tablet. I still like to use it. I know I have my iPad and I use that a lot for sketches, but I still really love my Cintiq as well. Just different purposes, I guess. So after he was all isolated, I threw him into a new document that was the size I like to do for my prints, which are A3, and I added the WA text, and it took some fiddling to get it how I wanted it, and then I just slapped on a background. I thought blue looked nice against the purple and yellow, and then I made the text the same blue but a bit darker, so it's kind of subtle, not too attention grabbing. And that was it. That is Waluigi as a hot guy. Well, you know, it's up to interpretation what you think is hot. His face is still creepy.
What? Yeah! Owie! Waluigi #1.
Waluigi #1.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Oh yeah, I should also say there actually won't be a video next week because I'm trying to stick to my new policy of not uploading when I'm out of town. This video was the exception because I skipped an upload a couple weeks ago, so this kind of makes up for that. But yeah, not posting next weekend. Okay, bye.